It's a Paul Verhoeven pick called Hollow Man, called Hollow Man. Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue, and Josh Brolin in Hollow Man had a $95 million budget for Hollow Man, an invisible rampaging man that they called Hollow Man. I'm John Recton with the retro view of Hollow Man from 2000. $95 million, nearly $200 million at the worldwide box office. An invisible Kevin Bacon going through 6 degrees of insanity, if you'll see what I did there. And yeah, this is one of the lesser Paul Verhoeven movies. He even admitted in interviews that he wasn't particularly happy with this. He doesn't think it's awful, he just doesn't think it's one of his best. And considering this is the man that brought us RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, which put Sharon Stone on the map, didn't put her on any of our laps, Mourn the Pity, as well as Showgirls, that pretty much was an indication that he might be losing his touch. That was ridiculous. Made me not want to go in a pool ever again. And my personal favorite of his movies, Starship Troopers. I just wish the sequels had any of Paul Verhoeven's touch in it because, oh boy, those sequels were kind of goddamn dicey. That being said, this was written by Gary Scott Thompson, which sounds like a name way too snooty to be in a film like this, or involved in a film like this. Fast and Furious, not to be confused with the German version, Fast and Furious, 88 minutes, and Las Vegas, a television show. Not leaving Las Vegas. Boy, that was something to put Nicolas Cage on the map and put everybody in a very depressed state. Also, Andrew W. Marlowe, another name that sounds way too snooty to be writing for a movie about an invisible Kevin Bacon. Air Force One, End of Days, and the Castle TV show. So this stars Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Crane. Yeah, okay, I'm kind of getting the whole thing. Sebastian Crane, that is, Claude Rains. I see what they did there. I'm probably thinking way too deeply into a movie called Hollow Man, but nevertheless, Elizabeth Shue, who just goddamn, look great here, still looks great. Josh Brolin, almost unrecognizable here. Kim Pickens, not Slim Pickens, because they're entirely different names. Greg Greenberg, and various other people. Even Rana Mitra, who would go on to be in The Life of David Gale, which was abysmal, and in Doomsday, which was also abysmal, but abysmal in a funny way. I will say that Rana Mitra looked great here, still looks great, and I wonder whatever happened to her. She hasn't been in much lately. So basically, Sebastian Crane leads a group of scientists in a rusty warehouse that houses a big old crazy lab, with all the tech and everything, that 90s and early 2000s computer tech, and invisible animals that they test an invisibility formula on, and they're trying to bring them back and figure out what's going on. Like, we can figure it out with animals and we can do it on humans. That's pretty much where this movie's going, because you can tell from the trailer and also from the goddamn poster that had an invisible Kevin Bacon covered in water. Spoiler, this movie isn't very good. In fact, I would argue that this movie is one of the biggest shitfests that happened in the early 2000s, because while everybody plays their roles fine, and there are some pretty good special effects that actually still mostly hold up despite the fact this movie is 23 years old, you don't really have anybody to cheer for, because the heroes are kind of really absolutely goddamn stupid. They do like one smart thing and then they go right back into stupidity. And also, you don't want to root for Kevin Bacon at all, because he's instantly a creep, a rich man, and he's going to rule the world with his invisibility formula. Boy, that doesn't work at all. He comes across as a slime ball, which I know was probably the point, but there's no way that this slime ball could actually turn evil. Spoiler, he does. There is a usual crop of ridiculous characters there. I do want to say, Kim Pickens, I wonder whatever happened to her, because she wasn't all that bad in this movie. So, yeah, he leers at Rana Mitra, who's his neighbor in, an apartment next door, and I see, it's okay when a movie does this voyeuristic stuff, but when never mind, moving hastily on over here, let's just put that idea over there. But, nevertheless, he finally cracks the code on testing it on, bringing people back, or bringing animals back from invisibility. And then he does it to a gorilla. Basically, this gorilla that, it's an invisirilla, as it were. Isabel the gorilla. Invisible, yeah, let's just go with that. Gonna be a lot of stupid puns in this. He tells one guy, oh, for the last time, you're not God, I am, because he has such an ego about himself. The rusty warehouse housing this freaking lab is actually kind of funny. They have these goggles, these infrared goggles, where they can read body temperatures and stuff like that, and they can use that to see what the hell's going on. Then they fail to use those when they really should be. So they bring back the gorilla, despite the fact that it looked like something bad might happen. They go to the Pentagon, they lie to the Pentagon about their findings, and Sebastian says, I'm going to test it on myself. Spoiler, it doesn't work out all that well because he goes insane-er than he actually is. Because you can tell what he's going to do. He even makes a joke before he does this about, the whole thing about Wonder Woman being out there just spread out on a roof or whatever. And Superman wanting to go pound her pee, as it were. I believe that's how it goes. That's how the kids say it. And he does that and then leaves. And she said, what was that? And the Invisible Man says, I don't know, but my ass is really sore. Kevin Bacon is at least having fun in this, you can tell. And, of course, he says, or Josh Brolin says to him, any last words? Yeah, if I die, pretend I said something deep and clever. Deep and clever is not any kind of, type of writing you're going to find in this movie. Also, Elizabeth Shue her character used to date Kevin Bacon. Now she's dating Josh Brolin. How Sebastian was not aware of this for the entirety of the first 2/3 of the movie, I don't know. I really, really don't know how he didn't get that. But nevertheless, they say, what's it like being a ghost? Ghosts are dead. I'm very much alive. You have no idea what it's like. You should try it. And he goes clearly insane. They try to bring him back. It doesn't work all that well. He starts to lose it. And they make a plaster and they put it over his face. And I gotta say, the plaster stuff, giving him skin, a type of skin or whatever that he can look at. And the fact he's sensitive to lights, now he can put sunglasses on. He can wear his sunglasses at night so he can keep track of the visions in his thighs. I think that's how the lyrics go. He just continues to lose it and lose it, eventually decides to leave. I'm going to go and leave. By the way, he assaulted one of the scientists earlier. You can call it whatever you want, but it was assault. Then he decides, I'm going to leave and I'm just going to do whatever. Then he assaults Rana Mitra. Why does he decide to assault people? I know he's a creep, but good guy. That's one of the things that bothered me about this movie. Because if you have invisibility power, sure, you might want to scare some people. You might want to do some stuff, have some fun, but who's going to know? Still don't do that. It's still kind of gross. That's one thing about this movie that I didn't like and still don't like. And one thing about this movie that has aged really, really goddamn badly. You would almost think Harvey Weinstein had something to do with funding this goddamn movie. So, he's trying to figure out a way to get back from this. The rest of the scientists are trying to figure this out, including Josh Brolin's character. And they can get to 95% completion, but then everything breaks apart. And he's losing it more and more. He's been like this for 10 days, and he can't see himself. And then he chokes out a dog. That I could have done without the animal violence for no reason. And then the crew is like, okay, we need to take care of this. Let's go take care of this. Elizabeth Shue and Josh Brolin say, no, we will. We'll leave you here. You go this way. We'll go home. Actually, they go to a guy named Kramer, who, great character actor. You'll recognize the guy when you see him. He ends up basically saying, okay, well, you guys should clean out your desks, but don't worry. We'll handle it. We'll get people. Well, they don't realize that Kevin Bacon escaped. He used a camera trick to pretend that he was there, but it just looped an image. Apparently, these scientists are not used to looking at security cameras for longer than 3 fucking seconds. And what ends up happening is they end up realizing, oh, Kramer got killed. Oh, Jerry, and I mean, honestly, Michael Richards at that point probably should have been, because if you know, you know. And also, fuck Seinfeld. I hate that show. That's okay, fight me in the comments. That doesn't mean you guys have to hate it. But yeah, he ends up getting drowned by an invisible Kevin Bacon. And then now they're trapped in the lab with the invisible Bacon. Not the invisible gangster, not the original gangster, just invisible Kevin Bacon. And he's gone on a murderous rampage, a murderous assaulty rampage, where maybe we should have, I don't know, called people about this. But no, we can't call people about this because then our jobs will be exposed. But people will die, but that's okay, our jobs won't be exposed. Now they decide to use the goggles. And then steam pipes are disrupted, so this steam is the same temperature, and he took care of Kramer, now nobody knows they're there. They play Marco Polo, which apparently, Sebastian Crane plays Marco Polo, and apparently Paul Verhoeven was not aware of what that was, and they had to explain it to him. To be fair, foreign director, I'm not really too surprised because games are different everywhere else. I would imagine Marco Polo would be not maybe universal, but you would know kind of the basic concept. Nevertheless, one person gets on the black girl gets on, oh, so racist as usual. The black person dies, I don't know, 50th. Another scientist gets killed. Various people are just getting killed in humorous ways, and blood and soaked and everything. Speaking of blood soaked, Kim Bacon decides to just throw blood packs at the floor and say, hey, Sebastian, why don't you come here? I'll shoot you. Well, then she doesn't realize she probably should have used some of those to throw them on him and not just on the floor. And he ends up killing her, shooting her, and then breaking her neck because he's a murderous, invisible man for no reason. And then he locks both Elizabeth Shue and Josh Brolin in a freezer so they can freeze to death while he gets some sulfuric acid, spins it around a little spinny thing where it's eventually going to stop and then it's going to explode. You know, where they move a formula. I don't really know how that shit works, honestly. And Josh Brolin got stabbed, so no, you got to keep Brolin. What? And somehow, despite all logic going out the window, Elizabeth Shue manages to take the paddles off of one of the defib deals and make a handle and a magnet to pull the door lock open so they can get out of this freezer. If she was that smart, why didn't she use those smarts to end this movie about 30 minutes before it did? And then she has a giant propane tank that she uses to torch Kevin Bacon, and somehow his burnt skin keeps flaking off somehow despite that. So now he's covered in water, but he's choking out Elizabeth Shue. Then Josh Brolin, rising from the dead, hits him with a crowbar or a pipe, or possibly Devon Storm from WCW. If you're a longtime WCW fan, you're laughing, possibly. And then they shock Kevin Bacon when he tries to grab it and ends up, getting an electrical bar. And now his body is sort of visible. And then the sulfuric acid is going to explode. This is shortly before Elizabeth Shue said, wait, I think I heard an explosion. Or quick. Or come on, I heard an explosion. And then more explosions happen. How would you... Whatever. Quick, climb up the elevator shaft, climb up the ladder while the elevator is booming up towards you with a ball of fire. And then, oh yeah, Kevin Bacon's there somehow and chokes her out and brings her down to the elevator that has come back down and it's about to snap. And then she realizes, hey, wait a second, I can get him with this brake. She hits the brake and says, go to hell. And he falls into the fire and then everything's fine and that's it. And Paul Verhoeven, yeah, I can understand why he didn't really care for this movie. Paul Verhoeven's a good director, though. He proved that he can direct blockbusters. He also proved he can direct Showgirls. That wasn't all that great, but I don't think was necessarily his fault. But Starship Troopers, we will always have Total Recall, RoboCop, Starship Troopers, and the such. And Basic Instinct. But nevertheless, Hollow Man, not very good. Special effects still hold up. And creepy, assaulting Kevin Bacon for no goddamn reason. So, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Wetland. I'll see you soon.